Imagine trusting someone with your life savings, your future, your family's security, only to discover they've been stealing from you the entire time. Now imagine that person took an oath to uphold justice and protect the innocent. Today we're diving into the shocking world of corrupt lawyers who turn their law degrees into licenses to steal. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll discover which attorney's greed was so outrageous that even hardened prosecutors couldn't believe the numbers. But first, let me paint you a picture that might make your heart race. Picture walking into a law office, feeling vulnerable and seeking help. You're trusting this person with your most precious assets, but behind that polished desk and expensive suit, they're plotting to rob you blind. These aren't just stories about professional misconduct, they're stories about betrayal at the deepest level. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's meet 10 lawyers who forgot their oath to justice. Story 10. Mark Dreyer, the $400 million mastermind. Mark Dreyer built a reputation as Manhattan's elite attorney, but behind his prestigious Park Avenue office, he was orchestrating one of the most audacious fraud schemes in legal history. Picture this. Mark was literally creating fake promissory notes and selling them to hedge funds for hundreds of millions of dollars. He used his reputation as a lawyer to give credibility to completely fabricated documents. When investors questioned the deals, he'd leverage his legal expertise to reassure them. His $400 million scheme finally collapsed when he was arrested while impersonating a pension fund official. The betrayal cut deep because people trusted him not just with their money, but with their faith in the legal system itself. Story 9. Scott Rothstein, the Ponzi Prince. Scott Rothstein created an entire fantasy lifestyle built on other people's dreams. This Fort Lauderdale attorney was selling investors' shares in legal settlements that didn't exist, profiting off people's trust in the justice system. The emotional manipulation is heartbreaking. Scott would show investors fake settlement documents, tell them heart-wrenching stories about injured clients who needed immediate help, and then pocket the money for his luxury lifestyle. His $1.2 billion Ponzi scheme destroyed retirement funds, college savings, and family inheritances. When it collapsed, entire communities who had trusted their local attorney were devastated. Story 8. Michael Avenatti, the celebrity fall. Michael Avenatti appeared on television as a champion of justice, but behind the cameras, he was betraying the very clients he claimed to represent. The most heartbreaking case involved stealing settlement money from a paraplegic client. Can you imagine the cruelty? This client was dealing with life-changing injuries, and the person they trusted to secure their future was secretly stealing from them. It's the kind of betrayal that doesn't just hurt financially, it destroys your faith in humanity. Michael's corruption wasn't just about money, it was about exploiting people at their most vulnerable moments. Story 7. David J. Stern, the foreclosure king. David J. Stern's story hits hard because it happened during the housing crisis. As Florida's foreclosure king, David built an empire on other people's misery, processing thousands of foreclosures while cutting corners and fabricating documents. His firm was like a foreclosure factory, treating each case as just another number while real families watched their dreams disappear. Families lost homes they might have been able to keep if the legal process had been handled honestly. David turned the legal system into a weapon against vulnerable homeowners during one of the worst economic periods in recent history. Story 6. Manuel J. Rodriguez Vega, the settlement thief. Manuel's Puerto Rico case shows how corruption devastates entire communities. As clients trusted him with legal settlements, money they desperately needed after accidents and injuries, Manuel was quietly stealing it. Picture a single mother who finally received compensation for an injury, only to discover her lawyer had stolen the money meant to support her children. These weren't wealthy clients, these were ordinary people whose second chances were stolen by the person they trusted to help them. Manuel's conviction came too late for victims who had to rebuild their lives from both their original tragedies and the additional trauma of being robbed by their attorney. Don't miss out, explore our handpicked true crime recommendations, links in the description. Story 5. Ronald Zaccaro, the systematic fraudster. Ronald Zaccaro's decades-long fraud scheme shows how corruption becomes a way of life. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Ronald used his legal expertise to hide assets and evade taxes on a massive scale. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was years of deliberately cheating the system while maintaining his position as a respected attorney. Every fraudulent document he filed was a deliberate choice to put greed above his professional obligations. Ronald's conviction reminds us that corruption often happens gradually, one small compromise at a time, until someone who once swore to uphold justice becomes everything they once opposed. Story 4. Peter Foster and Associates, the False Hope Peddlers. The Peter Foster case from Australia shows lawyers enabling fraud that preys on people's deepest insecurities. This firm actively participated in fraudulent weight loss schemes, exploiting people's desperation to improve their lives. These lawyers facilitated fraudulent contracts and used their professional status to lend credibility to schemes designed to separate vulnerable people from their money. When the firm collapsed, it left behind broken dreams and empty bank accounts. They were supposed to be guardians of justice but became enablers of exploitation instead. Story 3. Jose Camilo Duran, the tax system corruptor. Jose's involvement in Colombia's tax authority bribery scandal reveals how corrupt lawyers undermine entire government systems. By facilitating bribes to manipulate tax rulings, Jose was stealing from every citizen who depends on public services. When lawyers help wealthy clients avoid taxes through bribery, it means less money for schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Jose used his legal expertise to undermine the very system that made his success possible. Every bribe he facilitated represented medicine not available in hospitals and textbooks not purchased for schools. Story 2. Adrian Rodriguez Alcocer, the money laundering architect. Adrian's Mexico case shows how corrupt lawyers become key enablers of financial corruption. By using shell companies to launder money, Adrian turned his legal skills into tools for hiding criminal proceeds. The sophistication required means lawyers like Adrian aren't passive participants. They're architects of corruption. They use their understanding of law to create complex systems designed to hide illegal activity. His actions facilitated broader corruption, making it easier for others to engage in illegal activity and creating a multiplying effect of harm throughout society. Story 1. The Odebrecht Lawyers, the Democracy Destroyers. Our final story brings us to Brazil's Lava Jato scandal, where prominent lawyers became integral parts of one of Latin America's largest corruption schemes. These weren't lawyers who stumbled into corruption, they were essential architects of bribery systems reaching the highest government levels. When lawyers facilitate massive bribery schemes involving government contracts, they undermine democratic institutions and public trust. The human cost was enormous. Overpriced projects meant less money for essential services, and corrupted processes put public safety at risk. These lawyers turned their degrees into weapons against democracy itself. So remember that jaw-dropping number I promised? It was Scott Rothstein's $1.2 billion Ponzi scheme. So large prosecutors had to count it multiple times to believe it. But what really breaks your heart is that this money represented thousands of people's hopes, dreams, and life savings. Each lawyer started their career with the same oath: to uphold justice and serve clients faithfully. Somewhere along the way, they chose greed over integrity, betraying not just their clients, but our entire legal system. But here's what gives me hope. For every corrupt lawyer in these stories, there are thousands of ethical attorneys working to restore faith in justice. These cautionary tales remind us why we must hold our legal profession to the highest standards. What do you think? Have you ever questioned a lawyer's motives? But here's a terrifying thought. What happens when the corruption goes even higher up the legal food chain? If these corrupt lawyers shocked you, wait until you see what happens when the judges themselves, the people supposed to be the final guardians of justice, become the criminals. In my next video, I'm exposing corrupt judges who sold verdicts, took bribes, and turned courtrooms into their personal ATM machines. The judge, in case number 4, will make you question everything you thought you knew about our justice system. Click in the corner to watch the Top 10 Corrupt Judges video. Until next time, keep it legal.